PowerPoints is Pete. It's a PowerPoint, not a power paragraph. But I unfortunately continue to do my paragraphs, PowerPoints. But the natural effort of every individual to better his own condition when suffered to exert itself with freedom and security is so powerful a principle that it alone, and without any assistance, not only capable of carrying on a society to wealth and prosperity, and this is the point, but of surmounting 100 impertinent obstructions which the folly of human laws too often encumbers its operation. Okay? So what's going on is that the power of self-interest is enough to even overcome a lot of government stupidity. So, what I want to leave you with is a kind of an optimistic vision. My teacher, and many of us teachers here, so several of the George Mason alum are here, Ed Stringham and Shruti and Kyle and Leah here, but also Jesse, and I think, who else is here? And Nick Karat, a bunch of people, right? Jim Buchanan, who was our teacher, he always used to say, he's a pessimist when he looks to the future and an optimist when he looks backwards, because in the past he always thought things were going to get so much worse and they didn't get as bad as he thought they were. So what I want to suggest is that we have a horse race here going on in an economy between the Smith horse, the Schumpeter horse, and the government stupidity horse. And the Smith horse represents those opening up of opportunities for gains from trade. The Schumpeter horse represents the opening up of opportunities due to technological innovation. And then the stupid horse is those 100 impertinent obstructions which human folly thrusts upon it. And as long as the Smith and Schumpeter horses are ahead of stupidity, tomorrow will be better than today. Your kids will do better than you did. But there's no guarantee of that, because stupidity can get ahead. And we've seen this a lot in different societies, where stupidity has actually gone ahead, and that's why nations fail. Okay? So Argentina, at the turn of the 20th century, was one of the richest economies in the world. By the mid of the 20th century, it's one of the poorest. New Zealand, in the 1970s, is one of the poorest of the OECD countries. By the end of the 1990s, it's one of the wealthiest. Nations rise and fail, not because of people, not because of resources, right? But because of economic policies that allow people to interact freely with one another and utilize resources in an innovative and creative way. And so if we can walk away from this and say, okay, look at this huge fiscal gap. That's a big, hairy problem. It represents a big problem in the future. Economists nowadays are saying things like a little bit of inflation. Bob knows this, right? Ken Rogoff and all these people are saying 6 to 10% inflation for a decade. It's good. All right? Our job is to turn around and say, wait a minute, let's look at countries that have had that kind of inflation. What goes on in terms of the cost of inflation in those societies? So we have to fight that battle, no doubt. That's our job as economic educators, to constantly be fighting that battle. This deficit, debt, and debasement thing, when you embrace it, it's a country killer. Right? That's how come Rome fell. All right? This is why countries really fell. When you embrace this and it gets out of control and you're not able to have the pace of the Smithian horse and the Schumpeterian horse outpacing it. So, are we in a situation now where stupidity is so far ahead? Well, I'll leave that for